Owen from Dublin, Ireland. Despite their long-standing disinterest in them, in the past few years, WWE has signed several TNA/Impact originals to varying levels of success. These include AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, Austin Aries, Rockstar Spud, Eli Drake, Zema Ion, even Abyss eventually made his way over in a backstage role. My question is, who of the TNA Impact originals is the best to never get a chance in WWE? In ring, it would be Abyss. Abyss had an offer to come in years ago for a program with The Undertaker. He would have debuted in the Royal Rumble in 2007. That was the plan. And then he would have had a WrestleMania match with him that year, but he got cold feet at the last minute because he was so loyal to TNA. He had helped build the company from the ground up. And as he said before, 2005, 2006, that was a hot period for them, and they were really starting to come into their own, and he just said, how can I leave? And he decided against leaving. Not too many people would have passed up that kind of opportunity to debut at the Royal Rumble and have a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker in front of, what did they have that year? Ford Field, right? That's where they were that's where they're going to be for SummerSlam this year. They probably had 70,000 people, 80,000 people in the building. I can't think of anybody who would have said no to that kind of opportunity. Now, if you don't want to count Abyss, because he technically does work there now, the Motor City Machine Guns, I would say, would be my pick. Alex Shelley had one match with NXT. He was tagging with Kushida in the Dusty Classic, so the Time Splitters got a match there, but never the Machine Guns. Owen is not the only listener from Dublin to write in this week. This comes from Finn, who wants to know, buy or sell on the bigger missed opportunity to crown a new champion. Tetsuya Naito against Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 12, or Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle. Both guys have had very successful careers, but it feels like each loss cost them the chance to move up to the next rung and truly cement themselves as a top guy. What say you, and do you think Naito or McIntyre will have another shot at it? That's a tough one. That's a good question. Naito was white hot for New Japan in 2017, I think it was, right? And it felt like, with him, it felt like a now or never thing at the Tokyo Dome. It really felt like the peak for Naito. I was surprised at the time, and I reviewed the show back then. I was surprised when Okada beat him. He had that title at that point for like 500-something days. He had just set the record as the longest reigning IWGP champion of all time, I think, in terms of total days. I think it was like his third or fourth straight Tokyo Dome main event. He was having the Roman Reigns reign as champion that Roman is having now. And they kept the title on him. Gedo kept the title on him. And looking back on it, I think Okada winning was the right choice. What they did with Naito after probably wasn't. But Okada winning was the right move. I feel the same way about Roman Reigns beating Drew McIntyre in Cardiff, even though they lugered him, in effect. Look at what it led to. It led to the expansion of the bloodline, all the great storytelling we've gotten with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. At least Naito didn't sing Sweet Caroline in the ring after he lost like McIntyre did. But again, I think it was the right move because Roman is even bigger now, and we have that great build. We got that great build to Montreal in the match with Sami. I would buy on Naito, and I would sell on McIntyre, just because Naito was so much of a bigger deal in New Japan than Drew was in WWE last year. But I still think it was the right decision on both. In hindsight, looking back, I feel like Naito's time came and went. Drew, I can see holding the title again. Drew is really a victim of the COVID era. He was so over at that Royal Rumble when he eliminated Brock, and then he won the title in his big WrestleMania moment in an empty warehouse, and he had to carry the company on his back through the empty arena era, and then later on in front of, a bunch of screens every week. I'd like to see him get a real run in front of actual people at some point. I think he's got a better shot at that than Naito does.